Hello there. Hello, is anyone there? Sorry, we can't hear you. Hello.
Hi, Aiman here.
Hi, Arman. Mind to share what we are going to discuss today? It must be an interesting news, right?
Sure, we are going to discuss about life cycle costing.
Wow, interesting. Can you start now?
Absolutely.
First of all, we are going to talk about life cycle costing. What is life cycle costing? Next, revenue attributable to project, product, and goods from invention to abandonment. A technique or costing tool that track and accumulate the actual recurring costs associated with a major purchase over lifetime of the goods or product. Next, deal with present and future costs and attempt to relate the two as a basis for making decisions. Next, we go to concept of life cycle costing. First, to assist management to effectively manage the total cost through product life cycle in order to charge customer with relevant costs. Second, to identify areas in which cost reduction efforts are likely to be more effective. Third, to estimate the cost impact of various design and support opinion. Fourth, to evaluate investment alternatives and opportunity effectively. Next, objective of life cycle costing. First, to measure consequence of developing and making a product. Second, to identify areas in which cost reduction efforts are likely to be more effective.
Next, characteristic of life cycle costing. Life cycle costing involves tracing of cost and revenue of a product over several calendar periods throughout its life cycle. Next, traces research, design, development costs and total magnitude of this cost for each individual product and compare with product revenue. Third, each phase of the product life cycle poses different threats and opportunities that may require different strategic actions. And lastly, product life cycle may be extended by finding new users and users or by increasing the consumption of the present year.
So guys, what is the formula for life cycle costing? So LCC is equal to capital plus lifetime operating cost plus lifetime maintenance cost plus disposal and minus residual value. So in capital it is include R&D, while in operating cost it include manufacturing and also marketing costs.
Costs that usually incurred in LCC is research and development costs, maintenance costs, marketing costs, and distribution costs. Comparison of life cycle costing and traditional method. As for traditional cost accounting, first, allocation of manufacturing overhead costs to the product manufactured. Second, based on periodical reporting and only for short-term period. Next, life cycle costing. First, provide more complete perspective of product cost and profitability than pricing based on manufacturing costs alone. Second, upstream and downstream costs can account for significant portion of total life cycle costs. Third, decision at the design stage commit a firm to give production, marketing, and services plan and lock in most of the life cycle costing. Traditional cost accounting. System report can profitability on annual basis. Second, life of the product is split into several annual periods and strategy was prepared for annual period only. Third, some cost does not incur in the production cost. Fourth, early action cannot be taken as life of the product is unknown. Next, we move on with life cycle costing. System report cost profitability over life period. Second, life of the product is split into several phases according to the strategies. Third, the cost related to the product will be taken to calculate the product cost. Lastly, early action can be planned into advance. We are going to talk about upstream and downstream. What is the difference between upstream and downstream? As for upstream, a company prepares to start its production process, it incurs upstream costs. The upstream costs can be ranged from raw material to research and development to product design. Third, significant impact on efficiency and profitability of the production process. Last, can limit a company potential profit before a single unit become available for sale. As for downstream, the process involved in delivering those products to the customers is source of the company downstream costs. These downstream costs can be ranged from distribution expenses to marketing spend to sales channels. Third, determining factor in company profitability. Last, if distribution costs are too high or sales efforts are ineffective, the downstream costs will eat away the expected revenues. As for the cost, in upstream costs, there are two costs, which is research and development and design costs. As for downstream, there are three costs, which is marketing costs, distribution costs, and after-sales service costs.
Okay, so what is the difference between life cycle costing and traditional costing? For traditional costing, the cost of the product is a true profitability, meanwhile for the traditional costing, it's not a complete picture. Next, the cost of the product for life cycle costing is the entire life of the product. Meanwhile, for the traditional costing, it's only periodic profitability. Okay, last but not least, life cycle costing incurred all costs, including R&D costs, marketing costs, and so on. But the traditional costs only take manufacturing costs as their costs. Okay, so let's look at examples of life cycle costing versus traditional costing. Pusaka Pepati Sdn Bhd wants to produce a new high technology computer. Therefore, they need to conduct a research on the product that they want to produce, and here is the estimated cost of production for a computer. Stage 1, Life Cycle Cost Analysis Planning. The research development cost is 630,000 and design 55,000. So the total for the stage 1 is 685,000. Next, stage 2, Life Cycle Cost Analysis Preparation. For the material cost, total for 5 years is 4,265. Meanwhile, for the labor cost, total for 5 years is 1,645 ringgit. And lastly, overhead cost is 1,330. The unit produced for a computer is 19,400 for 5 years. So the cost incurred for the stage 2 is 140,456,000. As for the stage 3, Pepati Pusaka incurred marketing costs and maintenance costs. The total of the cost is 7,595. So the disposal cost is 965,000. So the calculation for the life cycle costing is the sum up of all costs, including R&D, production costs, marketing costs, maintenance costs, disposal costs. So the total for life cycle cost is 142,113,595. So the cost per unit for the computer is 7,325 ringgit and 44 cents. Meanwhile, for the traditional costing, we only incur the production cost, which is 140,456,000, and the cost per unit is 7,240. Therefore, the life cycle costing is slightly higher than traditional costing.
Hey guys, my name is Muhammad Iman Alif, and I will explain to you regarding the phases of product life cycle. There is 4 phases in product life cycle, which is the first phase is introduction, the second phase is growth, the third phase is maturity, and the last one is decline. So, let's start with introduction phase. During this phase, the company will start to introduce their product into the market. The potential customers still unaware about the product since the product just introduced into the market. Therefore, the company may have to spend more cost in advertising, marketing, and promoting in order to attract customer in market. During this phase, the costs incurred are intensive marketing and promotion costs. Although the company make sales, but they still incur a loss. At this stage, where the company will first get a sense of how customer will react to the product, whether they like it, and how successful it could be. However, it also often a heavy spending period for the company with no guarantee that the product will pay for itself through sales. So guys, let's move to the growth phase, which is as we can see here. During this phase, the company sales start to grow rapidly because the product gains a bigger market as demand of the product is increasing. Automatically, the sales revenue increase and the product starts to make a profit for the company. Other company become aware of the product and its space in market, which is beginning to draw attention and increasingly pull in revenue. If the competition of the product is especially high, the company will heavily invest the cost of marketing and promotion to be incurred in order to persuade the product in market. Unit costs tend to fall as fixed costs are recovered over greater volume. If the company expand, more competition often lower price to make specific product is affordable. However, revenue tend to rise in the volume and produce revenue. Marketing at this point aim to maximize the market share of the product. As we can see just now, what had happened during growth phase. Now, it's time to move into maturity phase. As we can see from here, during this phase, the growth demand for the product will start to decrease as during this phase, the product entered a period of relative maturity. The product continue to be profitable and company can increase the sale until reaching the peak. However, the price at this level may appear to be very competitive, with the signaling margin shrinking as price begin to fall caused by external pressures such as competition or lower demand. During this phase, the company will start to use the most expensive advertising to sustain the growth. Saturation is entered at this point, and the sales volume is maxed out. The product may be improved and upgraded in order to maintain the sustaining the product demand in order to fulfill new demographic or develop technologies. Okay guys, before this we have discussed about introduction phase, growth phase, and maturity phase. If we can recall back what had happened during the introduction phase is, the company bring out the new product into the market and they need to incur a cost such as advertising, promoting and marketing to attract the customer. While in the growth stage, we can see that the sales start to grow rapidly as the demand of the product is increased. Meanwhile, in the maturity stage, the demand for the product will start to decrease. So, right now, we are at the last phase of the product life cycle, which is decline phase. At this stage, the product for the company start to fall significantly as consumer behavior changes, as there is less demand for the product and stiff competition tend to cause sales to deteriorate. Eventually, it will a loss maker, and this is the time when organization should decide to stop selling the product. Marketing in the decline stage is often minimal or targeted at already loyal customer and the price are reduced. The cost involved will be environmental cleanup, disposal and decommission. Meanwhile, a replacement product need to be developed, incurring new level research and development and other setup costs. Eventually, the product will be retired out of the market unless the product itself able to redesign to remain relevant or in demand in the market.
The second graph, we can see there are difference between the sales and the profit of the product. The stage for increasing of the profit is during growth phase and will be slightly increased during maturity and decline between maturity to decline phase. We are going to talk about the costs that incur during the product of life cycle. During the introduction phase, we can see there are three costs that incur, which is research and development costs, design costs, and marketing costs. As for the growth phase, there are three also costs, which is distribution costs, production costs, and marketing costs. Next, we are going to talk during maturity phase. The costs incurred during maturity phase are inventory holding costs, marketing costs, and maintenance costs. However, for decline phase, there are disposal costs, marketing costs, and research development costs. Research and development costs will be incurred if the product is going to be implementing or to be upgrading to a new product.
We continue with the 6 stages of life cycle costing. The first one is research and development, design, production, marketing, distribution, and after-sales services. In research and development, there are two components which are research on the cost and prototype. So during research phase, company had to do research on the cost of developing product and service and the market need. The cost of developing the product should be low aligned with its high quality of product. After that, company should proceed by creating prototype which allow to test the product. Next, for the second stage is design. In design phase, company should decide the design details about the product or service such as functionality, color, character styles, measurement, quality, and etc. This is because the design of the product is the first impression of consumers towards the products. The more interesting design of the product, the more demand from the consumers. The third stage is production stage. It is process which involve transformation of raw material which is input into desired product or service which we call output by adding economic value. Aim of production function is to add value to product or service which will create a strong and long-lasting customer relationship or association. Activities included in production are quality control, materials management, production and planning control, plan layout, and material handling and others. Production management refers to the application of management principles which involve application of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling to the production process to the production function in a factory. Okay, for the fourth stage is marketing. As you know, marketing is a process to get consumers' interest in our product or service. It happens through market research, analysis, and understanding ideal consumers' interests. There are many types of marketing exist in this world. They are internet marketing, search engine optimization, social media, printing media, video marketing, and others. Usually, company will use these 4 pieces of marketing strategy which are product, price, promotion, and place, which in order to help them market their business. Next is distribution stage. There are 2 components in distribution system which are physical distribution and distribution channel. First, physical distribution is the look after physical handling of goods and assure maximum customer services. It aims at offering of delivery of right goods at the 9 distribution activities which cover order processing, packaging, warehousing, transportation, inventory control, and customer service. Meanwhile, channel of distribution means a process which products are transferred from the producer to the ultimate consumers. In distribution, channel members are agents, retailers, and wholesalers. These middlemen facilitate the process of exchange and create time, place, and possession utilities through matching and sorting process which enables to meet consumer demands. Okay, the last stage is after-sales service. What is after-sales service? Okay, after-sales service are all processes that come after the act of selling itself, such as contact via email, sending purchasing coupon on customer's birthday, discount for a second purchase. Some of after-sales service are asked for by feedback, offer discount, contact customers on a special date, promote release to those who bought from us before. So well-nurtured and enthused customers can come back and purchase products, in addition to promote the brand to family and friends. A business is advised to always provide good customer service during the after-sales step because this is essential to creating loyalty and attracting customers. In addition to optimizing your expenses with the acquisitions of new customers. We continue with the process of life cycle costing. There are three processes in the life cycle costing, which are LCC planning, life cost analysis preparation, and implementation and monitoring. For the first stage, which is LCC analysis planning, it is actually involve 4 steps in it, which are planning analysis, selecting and developing LCC model, applying LCC model, and finally recording and reviewing the LCC result. Besides that, the LCC planning, it should define the analysis objective in terms of output required to assist a management decision. There are some typical objectives that are being used by other types of company. The first objective is by having a planning, it can assist for planning, contracting, budgeting, or similar needs. Next, to identify the cost element, cost drives for the LCC of an asset to focus design, development, acquisition, or asset support efforts. To provide an estimate of resources required and a reporting schedule for the analysis. And lastly, to provide an estimate of resources required and a reporting schedule for the analysis. Next step in LCC analysis planning is the selection or development of an LCC model that will satisfy the objective of the analysis. LCC model is basically an accounting structure which enables the estimation of an asset component's cost. The next stage is life cost analysis preparation. In this stage, it is actually a tool that we actually use to control and manage the ongoing cost of an asset or part of it, and it uses real data costs. Next, the preparation of a life cost analysis involves review and development of the LCC model as a real-time or actual cost control mechanism. Changes may also be required to the cost breakdown structure and cost element to reflect the asset components to be monitored and the level of detail required. Targets are set for the operating costs and their frequency of occurrence based initially on the estimates used in a life cost planning phase. However, this target may change with time as more accurate data is obtained from the actual asset operating costs or from the operating costs of similar another asset. The last stage is implementing and monitoring. Implementation of the life cost analysis involves the continuous monitoring of the actual performance of an asset during its operation and maintenance to identify areas in which cost saving may be made and to provide feedback for future life cost planning activities. For example, it may be better to replace an expensive building component with a more efficient solution prior to the end of its useful life than to continue with poor initial decision.
So, I will explain about the implication of life cycle costing. The first implication is pricing. Life cycle estimate accumulates costs over a product entire life cycle to determine whether the profits earned during the introduction and growth phase will cover the costs incurred during the pre- and post-mature stage. To estimate the life cycle cost, it is essential to identify the costs incurred through different stages of life cycle product. Only on knowing the life cycle cost of a product can one appropriately decide on its price. And lastly, if viewed from the angle of customer of life cycle cost, the life cycle cost provide input for pricing across the life cycle. The second one is performance management. First, it helps management to understand the cost consequences of developing and making a product and to identify areas in which cost reduction efforts are likely to be most effective. LCC forms an input to evaluate process such as value management, economic appraisal, and financial appraisal. And last one, the management of time is immensely important if the profit of a product is to be maximized. And the last one is decision making. LCC provide a long-term picture of product profitability, feedback on the effectiveness of initial planning and cost data to clarify the economic impact of alternatives like design. Second, it's also considered a way to enhance the control of manufacturing costs. When viewed as a whole cost reduction and minimization opportunities as well as revenue extension opportunities, and it provides premises for decision making regarding product information, product needs, and regarding discontinuations of the products.
So, Let's continue with the implementation of life cycle costing in company. Skanska USA is one of the examples of the company that implement life cycle costing in their business. Skanska USA is one of the largest, most financially sound construction and development companies in their country, with expertise in construction, civil infrastructure, public-private partnership, and commercial development initiative in select United States market. Right now, we will look at into Skanska organization. Skanska AB is a listed Swedish stock corporation, governed in accordance with Swedish corporate legislation, Skanska Article of Association, and the listing rule for Nasdaq or MX Stockholm. Besides, Skanska also applies the Swedish Code of Corporate Governance. Let's take a look into company background. Skanska was incorporated in New York since 1971. The company started out from modest beginning, based in a small fishing village in southern Sweden, more than 130 years ago. Right now, Skanska is one of the world-leading construction and development operation. The company has grown to be the largest revenue-generating unit of Skanska Group. The headquarters is in New York, with office in 28 metro area, and Skanska USA has more than 9,000 employees that are committed to being leader in safety, project execution, sustainability, ethics, and people development. The revenue of 7.6 billion total US revenue in 2019 represent one-third of Skanska global revenue. Skanska is leading the industry in its life cycle costing based approach to green building. Rather than considering life cycle costing as a bolt-on, they are working to embed this thinking into their business as usual. In collaboration with organizations such as Green Building Council, they are assisting in the education of the construction and real estate industry on the principle of life cycle costing. They will continue to develop and implement new technology and technique to support life cycle costing approach, increasing its uptake and implementation across the industry. As we have been studied before, the purpose of life cycle costing is to show the real cost of building and owning. According to Steve Sam, who is the business unit president at Skanska Infrastructure Development, the optimizing balance between construction and long-term operational costs, such an example by implementing energy-efficient design solution, will help them to provide best value for the owner and user of their assets. Life cycle costing is an essential tool to achieve and help communicate the shared value enhancement. Let's proceed with the life cycle costing of engineering process. There is 4 processes involved, which is the first process is preliminary design. Second process is design. The third process is construction. And the last process is operation and maintenance. We begin with the preliminary design, where during this process, life cycle costing of engineering is carried out with emphasis on assisting the team in making strategic important decisions. Then, for the second process, which is design, a short list of design ideas has been decided. Calculation and analysis are refined to enable the idea to turn into plans. Then, for the third process is construction. During the construction, it is important that procurement of items is in line with design specification. Life cycle costing calculation are checked to ensure conclusions are still valid. Then, for the last process is operation and maintenance. Further life cycle costing calculation are carried out to ensure optimization of the operation and maintenance plans during operation of the building. Hey guys, welcome back to me. So, I wanna ask, how you understanding regarding life cycle costing and product life cycle so far? Is it okay or not? But right now, I will continue to explain regarding the benefit of life cycle costing. Recently, we have highlighted 4 benefits that we can derive from life cycle costing, which is the first one is improve forecasting of cost profile. Number 2, trade-off efficiency against cost. Number 3, improve awareness of total cost. And the last one is evaluation of competing outcome. So let's start with number 1, improve forecasting of cost profile. Life cycle costing allows to fully and estimately accurate all the costs associated with procurement. Hence, it will improve the accuracy in forecasting and decision making for future long-term expenditure. Number 2, trade-off efficiency against cost. Life cycle costing technique is not only the purchasing cost, but it also includes all the expense from the beginning of the stage until the end. Hence, the performance against cost trading allows cost estimation against all variables that contribute to purchase option. Then number 3, life cycle costing improve awareness of total cost. It provide advanced awareness of cost increasing factor and resource needed to purchase. It allows to focus on the most important area. And the last one is evaluation of competing outcomes. It provides the basis of a choice to be made mostly on the overall life cycle costing rather than just part of the cost. So guys, are you still okay? Then let's continue with the limitation and challenge in life cycle costing. The first one is availability of data. The availability and reliability of all of this information is one of the main challenges. This is because due to the lack of industrial standard to describe life cycle behavior. Then, the incompatibility of data recorded in different accounting systems by a different company. And the poor quality of existing data implies that the result from life cycle costing calculation is naturally become uncertainty. Number 2 is user knowledge on life cycle concept and principle. The lack of knowledge among procurer and other life cycle cost users has led to the poor perception of life cycle costing benefits. Then number 3 is costly for the management. Why? Because of the process of gathering accurate data take a lot of time to complete. Hence, it will incur higher operating costs. We proceed with number 4. Lack of awareness of the application life cycle costs. Most of the building owner and consultant in the construction industry are unaware on the life cycle concept and practice. As we look in Malaysia, we are still at the beginning phase in practicing life cycle costing compared to other developing countries such as United Kingdom, Singapore, Australia, and others. The last one is lack of framework for collecting and storing data. There is no fixed or standard framework and guideline used to collect and compile all the important costs of data. The changing costs in the operation and maintenance during the process of construction are not easy to evaluate and identify. Hence, it is challenging for the design team in implementing life cycle costs for their project.
Next, we are going to show you a video that we taken from YouTube for you to be more understand about life cycle costing. The video was published on 18 February 2019 from Environmental Finance Center at UNC Chapel Hills. Here are the video. I hope you enjoy.
Your drinking water system is made up of many assets, from pipes and pumps to meters and tanks. It costs money to construct, install, operate, maintain, repair, remove, and replace these assets. A lot of money. Most likely, you don't have all the money you need to do everything that should be done within your water system. So, you should make smart choices about where you spend the money you do have available. Asset management can help with making these smart decisions. Asset management helps you determine how, where, and when to spend your limited money. It's about maintaining a desired level of service. That is, what you want to provide to your customers at the lowest appropriate life cycle cost. So what does life cycle cost mean? It's actually a pretty simple concept. It means the total cost of ownership of an asset, the purchase price, the cost of operating and maintaining it, refurbishments, and finally, disposal. But figuring out life cycle cost can get tricky. Sometimes assets that are cheaper to buy end up costing more over time, especially if the asset uses energy. Here's an example. Let's imagine you're buying a new pump. There are lots of options out there. All pumps of the appropriate size and power seem to do the same job, which is pump water. So why not just buy the cheapest one and save money for something else? Because what you really want to be thinking about is the cost of moving water over a period of time. A pump costs something to purchase. Then there's the cost of installing it, the average cost of maintaining it each year, the average cost of the energy needed to power it each year, the average cost of repairing it each year, and the cost of removing it at the end of its life. If the pump lasts for 20 years, those costs look something like... Whew! That seems like a lot. What if we go with a less expensive pump? Can we get our costs down? Let's see. So this pump costs less to purchase, and then there's the cost of installing, maintaining. The average annual energy cost to operate it is higher because it's less efficient, and then you factor in repairs and removing it. If the cheaper pump lasts for 20 years, those costs look something like... So the less expensive pump actually costs us more over time, and that has an impact on the entire system. There will be less money for other system needs. In fact, most of the life cycle cost of a motor or pump is the energy to power it, even though the tendency is to purchase based on upfront price. Not only will the more efficient asset often cost less in the long run, but lower energy use means lower heat and therefore often longer life. So, it's worth taking the time to pick a pump or other asset that will cost you the least over its life, even if it costs more upfront. So when purchasing an asset, it's wise to think about the long term. Paying attention to total cost of ownership helps systems avoid unnecessary expenses in the future and frees up money for other priorities. To find out more about life cycle costing and other financial tips for your water system, visit efcnetwork.org.
As for the conclusion for life cycle costing might not be suitable for aggressive company. However, life cycle costing provides a better overall cost in long-term period.
Hi guys, now we continue with some quizzes regarding life cycle costing. Question 1. With respect to product life cycle, there is a period of slowdown in sale growth because the product has achieved acceptance by most potential buyers. 1. Product development stage. 2. Maturity stage. 3. Introduction stage. 4. Growth stage. So, which one is the answer? Aha, correct! The answer is maturity stage.
Question number 2. Which of the statements are true? Number 1. Life cycle costing aims to ensure that the profit is generated over the entire life of a product. Number 2. Life cycle costing considers all costs over the life of a product within the exception of a cost already spent on the design and development phase. Which is the answer? 2 only, 1 only, all above, and none of the above. So guys, let's try. Time's up. The answer is 1 only, which is life cycle costing aims to ensure that the profit is generated over the entire life of a product.
Third question. The focus of life cycle costing is to: first, estimate the cost of operation and maintenance. Second, estimate installation cost. Third, consider operation and maintenance costs in making project and decisions. Fourth, consider installation costs when planning the project costs. The correct answer is the focus of life cycle costing is 2. Consider operations and maintenance costs in making project decisions.
Question 4. Which of the following are benefits from life cycle costing? 1. Facilitate the designing out of cost at the product development stage. 2. Encourage better control of operating costs over the life cycle. 3. Provide better understanding causes of overhead costs. And 4. Provide useful data for short-term decision making. A. 1 and 3. B. 2 and 3. C. 3 and 4. D. 1 and 2. The answer is D. 1 and 2.
Hi guys, are you still with us? Let's proceed to the last question. How life cycle costing been calculated? Number 1. Capital cost plus lifetime operation cost plus lifetime maintenance cost minus disposal cost minus residual value. Number 2. Capital cost plus lifetime operation cost minus lifetime maintenance cost plus disposal cost minus residual value. Number 3. Capital cost plus lifetime operation cost plus lifetime maintenance cost plus disposal cost. And number 4 is capital cost plus lifetime operation cost plus lifetime maintenance cost plus disposal cost minus residual value. So guys, which do you think is the answer? The answer is number 4, which is capital cost plus lifetime operation cost plus lifetime maintenance cost plus disposal cost minus residual value. So guys, congratulations to those who have answered correctly. Well done.